Welcome to the Deep Dive. If you're loving these journeys through history, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on future episodes.
Definitely.
Now, picture this, okay? You're in Laetoli, Tanzania. You're walking in the footsteps of our earliest ancestors.
Literally.
3.5 million years old, these footprints. Pretty powerful, right?
Yeah.
Makes you think about where we come from.
That does.
But it also kind of makes you ask, how did we go from those early steps, to building these big, complex civilizations?
Yeah.
Well, that's our mission today, to trace that journey from, footprints to farming and beyond. And we've got some excerpts from this text on human history to help us along the way.
It's a journey that takes us back thousands of years, back to a time when humans lived really differently than we do today. And the text highlights a few key periods, right? The Paleolithic, the Neolithic, and this crucial transition to settled life. That's really the foundation for everything that came after.
So we're talking for the vast majority of human history. We were nomads, no cities, no farms, just constantly on the move. What was driving that lifestyle?
Survival. Simple as that. During the Paleolithic, humans were hunter-gatherers, so their lives were totally dictated by the seasons, and whether they could find food and the movements of animals. They had to be adaptable, had to be resourceful, constantly moving around to find what they needed.
Okay, that makes sense. Settling down wasn't even a thought yet, really. But then we get to the Neolithic age, and things start to shift. What sparked that change? Was it as simple as people just deciding to plant some seeds?
I wish it were that simple. The transition to agriculture, it wasn't like a light bulb moment, it was gradual. Over generations.
Right.
Imagine the patience, the observation to understand plant cycles, to select seeds, to cultivate them, and then to totally shift their entire way of life around this new way of getting food.
Yeah, it's a huge change. And here's something I thought was pretty interesting from the text. It points out that no new animals have been domesticated since the Industrial Revolution. It's like we just stopped.
That's true. We still rely on the same animals that were domesticated thousands of years ago.
It's wild. So maybe technology kind of took over where animal domestication left off. Okay, another thing the text emphasizes is geography. Why did some areas develop civilizations faster than others?
Well, the text calls these favorable regions sweet spots, and it really boils down to having the perfect mix, Climate, resources. Think about places like the Fertile Crescent in the Middle East. You've got water, fertile soil. The temperatures are good for growing. That created the perfect conditions for agriculture to really thrive.
So it all comes back to farming, huh?
In a lot of ways, yeah.
And speaking of geography, the text compares the Old World and the New World in terms of, what plants and animals were available for domestication. And it makes this point that the Old World just had way more options. Why was that?
Well, there's this fascinating idea that there was a mass extinction event in the Americas. Imagine mammoths and giant sloths just roaming around.
Oh.
Their extinction could have had a massive impact on the biodiversity in the New World. That would have had a huge impact on domestication.
Wow, a whole lost world. That could have changed everything, really. The text actually has this table with the earliest domestication dates for plants and animals. Dogs were first on the list. Makes sense, man's best friend. But chickens, can you believe they weren't domesticated until around 1000 BC?
It's later than you'd think, right?
What did people even eat for breakfast back then? Okay, zooming out a bit, the text summarizes some shared attributes of these early civilizations. What really struck me was the strong connection between humans and the environment.
It's so important to remember these early civilizations weren't just shaped by their environment. Their whole belief systems, their gods, their rituals, everything was tied to the natural world. They depended on it. They recognized its power.
Not like how a lot of us live today.
Exactly. Makes you think, right? We might have lost something important somewhere along the way. But let's change gears a bit. The text mentions this exchange of ideas, and it says it's a key factor in the rise of civilizations. We're talking exchanges within a culture, between cultures. How did that even happen back then? No internet, no printing press even.
It's true. It seems impossible almost.
It does, but even without those technologies, ideas still traveled, sometimes across huge distances.
How?
Well, people still moved around. They traded, they interacted, right? Ideas could spread through stories, through word of mouth. They could travel with goods and materials. And when people migrated, they took their ideas with them.
So it was like going viral, but in slow motion.
Exactly. And instead of memes, we're talking about, new farming techniques, better ways of building.
Makes sense.
But we have to remember, these exchanges weren't always peaceful. Sometimes ideas spread through conquest, through conflict.
Right. Not every exchange was a positive one.
Unfortunately, no. And those conflicts definitely had a big impact on history. Okay, so we've got these early civilizations. They're figuring out how to farm, how to build, how to create order. But what even is civilization? The text kind of leaves that open to interpretation.
It's a big question for sure.
It is. It is. But the text gives us some clues by highlighting the factors that helped civilization emerge in the first place.
We've talked about some of them already. Climate, geography, the plants and animals available for domestication. But then there's another one, food production. Being able to produce more food than you need. Why was that so important?
Because if you have extra food, it means not everyone has to spend all their time just getting food. People can start to specialize in other things. Pottery, weaving, metalworking. That's how you get artisans, craftspeople.
Ah, so it's like one thing leads to another.
Exactly, a domino effect. And then as those roles develop, societies need a way to organize, to govern, to protect what they've built. So you start to see more complex social structures and eventually political systems.
So civilization wasn't just building stuff. It was building a society, creating rules, systems, figuring out how to manage everything.
Right. It was about finding ways for people to cooperate, to interact on a larger scale. And, speaking of human interaction, there's another factor that might seem a little out of place. Germs and immunity.
Germs. What do germs have to do with civilization?
Well, when people started living closer together in settlements and cities, diseases became a much bigger problem. More people, more germs.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. But what about immunity?
Over time, populations developed some resistance to the diseases. Those who survived outbreaks, they passed that immunity down. It's a tough process, but it's part of how we adapted.
So it wasn't all smooth sailing on the road to civilization.
Yeah.
Okay, the text also lists infrastructure as a key feature of civilization. And I'm guessing we're not just talking about roads and bridges here.
No, not just that. Here, infrastructure means the systems and structures that kept these societies going. Irrigation systems, storage for food, temples, public buildings. It's the framework.
The foundation.
Yeah. And all those things, food production, specialization, immunity, infrastructure, they all contributed to something really important, greater population density.
More people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because now societies were more efficient, more resilient. They could support more people.
Like a snowball effect, right? More food, more people, more innovation.
Exactly. It's fascinating how it all works together, but we have to remember, all of this is happening while the world is changing. The text reminds us that the last ice age ended around 10,000 BC. Right when these early civilizations were starting to appear.
Wow, so humans are already all over the planet, and now the climate is changing too.
Right, big changes. As the glaciers melted, new areas opened up, temperatures went up, rainfall patterns shifted. That all affects what crops can grow, where they can grow. It's another layer of complexity.
Wow, so much to adapt to.
Exactly, nothing stays the same, right?
Yeah.
Civilizations had to be flexible if they wanted to survive. And then, just to throw another twist in, the text jumps ahead to the period of European expansion between 1400 and 1600 AD.
That's a big jump. Why do you think it does that?
I think it's trying to show us how much things had changed by then. It talks about guns versus spears. That tells you a lot about the power dynamics in that era.
Yeah, a huge difference.
Definitely. It's very different from the earlier periods where things were developing more evenly. By the time of European expansion, some civilizations had a big advantage, and that really changed the course of history. And it leads to a really important question, right? Why did civilization develop so much faster in some parts of the world than in others?
Let's do it. All right, let's set our sights on Mesopotamia. They call it the cradle of civilization, right? And for good reason. It's nestled between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. Seems like so much innovation started there. What made it such a good spot for civilization to really take off?
It goes back to those sweet spots, right? Remember we were talking about the right mix of climate and resources?
Yeah.
Mesopotamia had it all.
Yeah.
Water from the rivers, fertile soil, a climate that let them grow crops almost year-round. That combo, that's what led to those sophisticated irrigation systems, which then meant more food than they needed.
Surplus. The key to everything.
Pretty much. It meant people could do other things besides just farming.
Right. Artisans, scribes, early forms of government.
Exactly. And Mesopotamia, they were pioneers.
Yeah.
I mean, they developed cuneiform.
One of the first forms of writing, right?
Exactly. They could record transactions, write down stories, pass knowledge on to the next generation. Think about the impact of that, being able to communicate across time, across distances, just by writing stuff down.
It's amazing.
It is. And it doesn't stop there. They gave us epic poems like the Epic of Gilgamesh. one of the oldest pieces of literature we have. And then there's the architecture, those ziggurats. Huge stepped pyramids dominated the whole landscape.
I've seen pictures. They're incredible.
They weren't just impressive to look at, though. Those ziggurats, they were temples, centers of religious life. Shows you how connected their spiritual beliefs were to their world.
It makes you think about how these civilizations weren't just focused on the material stuff. They were trying to understand big questions, too. The meaning of life, the universe, all of that.
Absolutely. They were grappling with the big stuff. Okay, let's move on to another one, all right? Ancient Egypt. Another civilization that flourished along a river, the Nile.
The Nile was everything to them.
It was their lifeline. Those predictable floods, they brought fertility to the land. But what makes Egypt really stand out is their system of government, their religion. The pharaoh was at the top, had all the power, political and spiritual.
So God king.
Exactly. And their belief in the afterlife that led to those amazing tombs, the pyramids, a testament to their ingenuity, their skill.
Still standing today.
And don't forget their advancements in math, astronomy, medicine. They were great engineers, architects, physicians. They pushed the boundaries of knowledge.
Incredible. Okay, we've seen two iconic civilizations, both shaped by these powerful rivers, fertile lands. Where to next? How about the Indus River Valley?
All right, the Indus. Now this one, it gets less attention, but it's got some fascinating features. For example, they were amazing urban planners. Their cities, places like Harappa, Mohenjo-Daro, they were laid out on a grid. They had drainage systems, public baths.
Wow, sounds ahead of their time.
They were. And get this, they had a written language.
Did they really?
Yeah. But here's the thing. We still can't read it. It's a mystery.
A whole language we can't understand.
Archaeologists are working on it, trying to unlock those secrets. There's so much we still don't know. Okay, let's keep heading east, shall we? To ancient China. Another civilization that grew up around a major river, the Yellow River.
The Yellow River, yep.
Now, China is a great example of a civilization that really valued harmony, order. They had Confucianism. It was a philosophical system that stressed respecting your elders, family ties, ethical behavior, all the stuff that makes a society stable.
It's pretty different from the way some societies in the West developed, more individualistic, you know.
You're right. China's focus on the collective, on harmony, that seems to be a big reason why they've been so stable, so resilient for so long.
Makes sense. And they were incredible innovators too, right? Paper, gunpowder, the compass, changed the world, those inventions.
Absolutely groundbreaking. They weren't just thinkers, they were doers. Okay, ready for our last stop?
Hit me.
Mesoamerica, home to all sorts of amazing civilizations. The Olmec, the Maya, the Aztec, this region, it's Mexico and Central America today. It was a hub of culture, of innovation.
I'm ready.
Now, Mesoamerica is interesting because it shows how civilizations can develop in all kinds of different environments. They were skilled astronomers, mathematicians. They created these intricate calendar systems. They had a deep understanding of the cosmos, and they loved their cacao.
Cacao. As in chocolate.
That's right. They used it in ceremonies and rituals.
Sounds like my kind of civilization.
Yeah.
They knew how to have a good time.
They did, but they weren't all fun and games. They had challenges, droughts, warfare. Some of those civilizations declined because of it. It reminds us that even the most advanced societies, they're not invincible.
True, but it also shows how resilient humans are. We adapt, we overcome, we build these incredible societies no matter what. It's been an amazing journey exploring these early civilizations.
It has.
From those footprints in Laetoli to the cities of Mesopotamia, Egypt, the Indus Valley, China, Mesoamerica, it's clear that civilization is a story of innovation, adaptation, and the human spirit.
And it's not over. The story of civilization is still being written. It's a tapestry of culture, technology, human interaction. Who knows what's next?
A great question, and one that leaves me feeling kind of small, but also inspired. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the origins of civilization. If you enjoyed it, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss our future explorations. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep wondering about this incredible